So when you're trying to get to know a subject that you've never experienced anything from and you want to learn it, grasp it, understand it, fully capture the meaning of it, it's not gonna suffice to just listen to other people talk about it. You have to put it in your own worldview. You have to make a model inside of your head and take that new understanding, put it somewhere in that model, meaning your worldview is changing as you're learning about that. And what you're doing when you're doing that is to force your brain to see it in the current reality, in ways that you've never been able to perceive before. In this way, you're not just seeing it as something that you've read in a textbook, or you've heard of a philosopher talking about it, or you've just stumbled upon it by reading an article. It's not gonna stay in the world of theory anymore. It's going to change your perception altogether. For example, when you start reading a book on psychology or sociology, politics, whatever book you're reading, you try to figure out what's happening in the world and exercise your knowledge by aligning that with what you've learned. But you see, in the beginning, you have to force yourself to do it. You have to force yourself to analyze everything based on what you've just learned. But as you frequently do this, you're going to make it a habit, a mental habit that becomes so ingrained in your psyche that you no longer need to force yourself to retrieve all that knowledge and bring it to the fore to figure out what's happening in the world. You become the product of that, and that becomes your normal state of being. I also have to add that there's a price that you're paying here. You're turning yourself into this person that knows a lot and is always thinking deeply about everything because they're aligning it with what they have read somewhere. And that's going to set you apart from other people. And it probably will be a little bit draining sometimes, but you can't help it. You become this person. And if you are not comfortable with the way you're going to turn out if you do this, then don't do it. I mean, not everybody should be an avid learner, so keep that in mind before you turn yourself into an intellectual monster that will probably never stop. So now that you're trying to map your learnings onto reality, you could also add on a practice of writing down what you think about that book is not correlating with what's happening in reality. You could try to investigate what's happening there. You could go on and read an article. You could also try to search up videos that are talking about that and figure out what exactly is creating that discrepancy between what you've learned in a book, in a textbook, as a theory of reality, and what's actually happening right in front of your eyes whenever you're in a real life situation. So you're clarifying your mind by bringing it to the paper and thinking about it in depth and not shying away from what you do not understand from that book. So this is how you turn yourself into a person that cares about understanding much more than rote memorization. And in that sense, you're changing the gear of learning in your own mind permanently. And that becomes a habit. After a while, it becomes effortless and it no longer requires your full attention. It's just that you have installed something in your mind that is going to work on its own. It's like you're creating a machine in your brain. You don't need to maintain that machine because it's going to run on its own. And that's exactly what it means to understand something fully and never ever forget it, because it's becoming a part of who you are and how you see the world. And I know it might be like pretty basic and I'm just talking about something that we all know, but we don't really know because we're not really serious about this. We're not putting so much effort into figuring out how we can map that onto reality. And the reason I say that is because if you were to do this, learning would become so enjoyable that you would not waste a second of your life without it. You're just gonna get addicted to learning because the more you learn, the more obvious things are gonna become, and the less you're gonna fear the world, and the better you're gonna function in the world, because that's what we are aiming at here. We want to become a person who doesn't fear anything, because they know how to understand and how to analyze things that they come across. And this is the recipe for it. So next time you're reading something, ask yourself this question. Am I truly understanding everything that's being said in that article or a book? Is it that I am just taking everything at face value and thinking that the literal understanding is enough and just leaving it at that? Or am I going further and trying to map it onto reality as I see it? And I know this way of reading and consuming information is going to slow you down so much that you probably are just going to be able to read 2 or 3 pages of something complex in a day. You're not going to be able to understand what's happening if you're bombarding yourself with information and allowing no time to pass by to make you aware of what has been said and what has been described in that piece of data. So that's it for today. Thank you for being here. I hope that I can talk to you next time. Until then, keep learning. That's what we do in this channel.